Running a small business means there's never enough time. But what if an unpaid intern can handle your follow-ups, reminders, and promotions automatically? In this episode of MLM Mastering Local Marketing, we explore how email automation can be a game changer for local marketing and small business marketing efforts. You'll learn practical ways to use email automation like MailChimp or Constant Contact to save time, improve communication, and increase sales. We'll have some inspiring real-world examples, including how a local beauty salon is planning to leverage QR codes to trigger creative email campaigns. We'll cover how to build welcome emails, re-engagement campaigns, appointment reminders, and post-purchase thank yous, all designed to run seamlessly while you focus on your business. If you've ever said, I don't have time for marketing, this episode will show you how email automation fits perfectly within your local marketing toolkit to help your small business work smarter, not harder. He's Matt Hansen, digital marketing guru around here in Northwest Indiana. We're honored to have him on our 88th episode of Mastering Local Marketing. Please tell other small to medium-sized businesses about our podcast. Every time someone finds it and then they send us an email, or I see them in the canned goods aisle at Strachan Van Til here in Northwest Indiana. I even had a guy tell me the other day, he's like, man, whenever this is on, I find myself sitting in my car before going in my next meeting. And so please tell other small to medium-sized businesses. There's 600,000 in Indiana alone. Just tell a few, and let's help it grow, because you really can market better for little money and little time. And one of those ways is email. Matt Hansen, I remember in your classes, taking them for my MBA, I'm like, why are we spending so much damn time on emails? All the way down to subject lines and the segmentation of the lists, and the open rates you never really go for too much, and I'm surprised at that. But all of these little minor changes, all these A/B testing, why so much focus on emailing in your classes?
Because it is the best marketing tool you can possibly use, right? So if you've got the list, it's solid. So I was at a chamber event yesterday it was a small discussion about holiday marketing and how to get going and all of those types of things. And we had, I think there were about 10 people in the round table kind of discussion. And, we were talking about different things that they were looking to do and struggles that they were having, and everything kept coming back to email. And we were discussing it, each one of these businesses, and we were talking about email, and I was saying, you can use automation for most of what we're discussing here. Like, this is easy. It's, I don't ever say you should go get an unpaid intern, but an automated email sequence that you've set up can actually be an unpaid intern for you because it's automated. It does it for you. So I wanted to touch today on just simple ways that you can automate some of these things. And, so for example, a lot of our listeners know that I run the digital marketing competition, which is the largest collegiate marketing competition. It's growing like crazy. And, everyone thinks we have this team of 20, 30 people behind the scenes. And literally we use technology and automations to deliver a lot of the stuff that goes out, right? So as a team registers for the competition, we have an automated message that then goes back and sends them an email with the case study. A couple weeks later, or maybe a month later, they get an automated message with the questions that were answered that have all come in, and it goes out. And then they'll get a reminder about a week before saying, like, hey, your entry is due in a week. Here are the 3 things that you got to make sure you do so you don't get disqualified. And then, maybe there's another email in there a day before saying, like, hey, just to let you know, you've got 24 hours, right? So it's this fully automated system. And mind you, I think we had over 250 entries come in from all over the world. So it was 33 and a half hours of content that came in. And you would think with 33 and a half hours of content and 250 plus, student teams across the world. I mean, we're talking about Australia and Ireland and France, and I mean, they're everywhere. And you would think we'd have this huge team, and we put on the finals here and all this other stuff. It's literally, we have myself who's running it, and then I have 2 students that I've recently hired to work on the sales side of it. And that's it. Like, we run this thing, and then obviously we have our wonderful producer here that will help us put on the final event. But like, from an email standpoint, we have automated everything. So when I first started doing it, those 250 people that were registering, I had to physically go email them the case study and all this other stuff over and over and over again. And we just set up automation. So it's basically a form. They fill out the form. They go into a list. When somebody goes into that list, it triggers an email that is set up to go out immediately, and then there's kind of like a drip campaign over time. Or we set it up for a certain date where it needs to send out. Completely hands off. It's an unpaid intern, essentially, that does all the work for me, and the only thing I have to do is answer the emails that come in with questions or whatever it may be from the different teams. So, again, I started looking at this yesterday, and we were talking with a beauty salon, and they were saying, oh, well, we've got kind of this issue, and right now things start to die down a little bit. They do tanning, they do hair, and all this other stuff, and they were saying, we'd love to sell more gift cards, but we don't know how to promote that and get people to buy gift cards for others and all this other stuff. So we started having this conversation, and they had built kind of the package. The group had built the package together, and we're talking about it. But then on the flip side, since it was a holiday campaign, I said, we all know those stupid, and I'm going to say stupid, those stupid elf on the shelf that everybody with kids have, and they've got to move every day and all this other fun stuff. But I said, why don't you just make that kind of the listening, quote unquote, listening device in the salon, to where if my wife goes in there and says, oh, I wish my husband would buy a gift card for this, the elf is the one that is sending out an automated email saying, hey, I overheard your wife, say yesterday she would love to have a gift card. And so we started talking about that, how we could automate that. And I said, well, that's as simple as putting up a QR code in the store and having people scan it and saying, hey, give your husband a hint that you want a gift card here. You scan it, you put in his email, his name, your name, and it's an automated email that goes out from the elf, right? And it says, hey, your wife, her name here, right? I overheard her in this salon today wanting, she would like a gift card for this place. Here's a direct link in case you want to, give it to her, right? So it was like playing all this creativity into it, but also using email automation and the fact that you can, it's a simple scan. You put in your husband's name, his email, and as soon as that form is submitted, it goes into the list. The list then triggers the email. The email goes out using the personal information that you've put in there to drop into that letter, and now your husband has just gotten the email. It's a subtle hint that you would like that gift card.
So let's go back to the small and medium-sized business that is running harried and is hearing you talking about emails and automating emails and how simple a whole system is, but they're entirely intimidated. Right. They're like, oh my gosh, that just sounds like so much work, and I'm, and I'm kind of, I know how to make certain pieces that, or produce. There's a lot of small mini mills around here, and there's a lot of people that have small to medium sized retail outlets, and they're like, dude, I'm like, I don't have any time, and I'm not all that great with computers as it is. You're talking about something that seems kind of foreign to me. How do you deal with the intimidation factor when you run into that?
I tell them that you can set this up in an hour, and it will run for the next 365 days without you ever having to touch it, right? So think of it in terms of this. You have to set up a form, and that's why I mentioned MailChimp or Constant Contact, because they have these automations that are built into it. So you set up a form, and you go, okay, what information am I going to collect, and how am I going to use it? right? So if I'm asking for your husband's name, your husband's email, and your name, I'm going to use that in the email that's going to go out. Okay. So I collect that. I build the form in one of these platforms. Very simple. You just select, or you can create custom fields, whatever you want to do with it. And you build that form. And then you say, okay, that form, I can either house it within that email service provider and send traffic over to it, or I can, do, it's called inline coding, right? And you can put it on your website. Once somebody submits into that form, you set that form, all the details go into a specific list. So you could name it holiday list, right? Or elf list, or whatever you want to name it, right? Goes into that list, and then you set up an automation. So the automation is as simple as this. When somebody signs up for this list, then they get this email, and they have the templates in there where you can actually build the email. And then you could say, okay, and then once something happens, then do this, then something happens, do this, or you can set it by date or whatever you want to do. It is so simple to set up. If you literally just took an hour and played with it, you would uncover it's the most easy way to set up automations. And then you start to get tricky with it. You start to get creative with it, right? So for example, if you're collecting birthdays or anniversaries from your customers, right? You know that their date is, November 1st, which we're coming up on. Okay, great. I know once November 1st is triggered, right? That's their birth date. They get this email with a discount or promotional code for the next 24 hours to come in on their birthday, right? So all you're doing is it's pulling data out of this list and saying, that's your birthday. That's the trigger. Now you're getting this email. So instead of uploading, I had a client a while back where they would upload January birthdays, February birthdays, March birthdays, and all you really have to do is just tie it to that individual date as the trigger, and it will send it out on that day. And then you're uploading content, but their email, their contact info, but you have their birthday or their anniversary date in there, and it's triggering based on that alone.
So you have a small to medium-sized business. You already have hundreds of emails. Mm-hmm. You may have thousands of emails, past customers, people who ask questions, all this stuff. You've never had an email program. What do you do with those past emails, or they could be current still, that you use to build people to, there's a myriad ways why people communicate with you, but you wind up with their email addresses and they have interacted with you. So they're going to open anything you send them. So what do you do with those?
We had this conversation last night too. A lot of people will take an email list and they just promotional. And you have to realize that people are looking for a two-way communication of value back and forth. Again, we talked on the last podcast about listening and understanding what your customers want. So, it doesn't matter what kind of company you are. I've mentioned the nativity line that we used to sell back in the day, and it was a collectible. So we took the approach from an email standpoint as a collector. We were announcing the latest pieces. We were offering to our best customers catalogs, right? A $5 catalog, but they were spending $300 with us every year, so it didn't matter, right? We were literally going to the warehouse and finding old pieces that weren't boxed up anymore, that you couldn't find anymore. And we were doing secret sales of pieces that were, we'd have 50 of them, and once they were gone, they were gone. We were providing research, history, all of these things. So people were actually really interested in reading our emails. They weren't just promotional. Now, we would sprinkle sales and promotional items in there that people could buy. But the idea is that you have to have that back and forth communication. So if you're using automations, realize that don't just send promotional material. You've got to have real value. So from your standpoint, you've got the sports network. What is it that
thousands of emails we don't know what to do with?
What would they be interested in learning? Well, obviously they probably don't understand the market right now, right? So as you sit down, and I've done this with you, I've sat down and started to understand high school sports as the new frontier, right? So you've got professional sports, which is crazy. You've got college sports, which is crazy now with no money and all this other stuff. And high school is kind of the last frontier. It's the last affordable frontier, and it's local, and everybody is looking to go local at this point, right? So, from your standpoint, it's the comparison of passion, high school sports, these kids, it's your alma mater, and then you have something like a billboard, right? Like, it's a completely different mindset, right? So you're buying into the fandom of high school sports, and you're partnering your business along with it. You talk about the halo effect all the time, right? Like, you're partnering with that, but you have opportunities to spend your ad dollars. You can go out there and be on Instagram. You can go out there and be on a billboard. You can go out there and be on a newspaper or radio or whatever it may be. But like, it's the conversation, and people, when it comes to high school sports, from your customer standpoint, they realize there's value there, but they're looking at it from the standpoint of the only thing they really know is there's a sign that's hanging over a banner or like whatever out there on the stands, and that's what they know for high school sports, right? Like, they don't know the opportunities, and you just kind of like, this is what's happening in high school sports. This is how viewership is growing, and understand that this is the new frontier. Like, those are the conversations that you have to have with those customers. And everyone is different. I mean, everyone has their own unique customers and what they're looking for. Again, we were talking last night, we had insurance, we had financial advising, we had real estate, we had home decor, we had a salon, right? Everyone had their own unique things. And we were talking about investments. And, the fact is, you can't like go out there and say, hey, you need to go buy this stock right now. But you can talk about, hey, we're getting to the end of the year, and I can help you save money on your taxes. I can't help you in March or April. I can help you now. And here are some of the ways that others have been, saving money. So again, think of it in terms of dropping content in an automated way that you don't have to physically do. But utilize the automations as much as possible.
So to, I guess, kind of simplify it and dumb it down for me and for you, if you have a small to medium-sized business, first of all, you have to commit to emailing and to automating the email and not be intimidated about it. If you get that intimidated, just email me, Jed at jedtv.com, and we'll talk, and I'll walk you through it, because I'm as intimidated as you are as we go this direction. The next thing is you have to find a way, especially on your website, to take in new leads, new people that you interact with. But you also have to consider all the emails you already have, people that are your stakeholders. And you have to start thinking about, they're going to get different messages than the people who just signed up on the website, but they should be getting a message regularly in an automated fashion.
Right.
And you don't have to feel bad about putting their email into the list. And if they, put on the bottom, they can opt out. If they've communicated with you for different reasons, they've still communicated with you, and you might, you can put them into a different list. So you are dealing with your new leads and your current stakeholders. And you're talking about an entirely different set of contents that need to go to them. And we use MailChimp, and it's pretty easy. It's like, all right, they're on this track, and then you put a bunch in another email list, and they're on this track. But there is a regular track. Well, they'll get a birthday thing, or they'll get a hint campaign. Talked a lot about the beauty salon. If they missed an appointment or something, you can just continue to follow up. And then, of course, if they haven't done anything, you have a reactivation campaign. The one that I'm most interested on this is that we have a new product. We want to know what people are thinking. How do you use email to get some feedback?
Yeah, so you sell a product to somebody, and whether you're selling it online or whatever, as long as you're gathering that email address, use it for research purposes, right? So again, we can ask for reviews, Google reviews, and all this.
That's different from
feedback.
That's
different from feedback. But let's say you start selling a new product, and you really want to understand how well it's being received. Go back, a month and send an email to everyone that has purchased this product, or set it up on an automation to where after they buy, if it's something that they use right away, a week later they get an email, or 2 weeks later they get an email that says, hey, we would love to know how well you like this product, this service, whatever it was. Can you give us some advice to make it better? Right? So you're not asking them like what's wrong, but you're essentially saying like, we're listening to you. We want to make it better if it wasn't 100% already. Like, can you give us some insights, right? And use that, because people are more inclined to answer something like that than to say, hey, can you give us a 5-star review on that latest product that you just bought? It's more interesting because you're building your business and you're listening, you're asking these questions to people, and they're going to give you real answers coming back. So you can fix the problems without going too far into it. But if you get that constant loop of feedback, it's golden, right? It's absolutely golden.
So just to simplify it, there's 2 easy tracks to follow. You got your new people that are coming in, and you got to have it on your website, and however you initiate contact with someone, but you get the email address that comes in with some level of interest. And then you have people that already have interest. Like let's just say if you just did 2 things. You set that up for new things coming in, and you set it up for all your people that already somehow have written you a check, and you just did those 2 tracks. Is that a good place to start?
Yeah, it's fine. Obviously we're talking about people that aren't very comfortable, haven't spent a ton of time in email. And you'll see a lot of people where they'll build just list after list after list after list. And what I try to tell people is try to have as little amount of lists as possible, because what happens is you don't know where things are going at that point. So you can actually use tags within your list to say, okay, they came in, on this date or whatever it may, like you can tag all of it for, these people only buy when there's promotional items. These people are only interested in this kind of product, right? So if you put those types of tags in there, you can have one centralized list, and you can say, okay, for this email, I want to send it out to obviously this list, but I only want people that are tagged here. So, for example, Walmart back in the day, I've seen their email lists and all of this, and they have huge amount of database of emails. And they'll send out, millions and millions and millions of emails for one email. And then they'll have another one that'll be like 28,000. And it's very specific to a product that was purchased, right? So it's
some specific line of perfume.
Exactly, right? So they understand that, you've got to segment and you've got to do different things. But, your goal should be to get one master list that you can tag certain things in there. And that's challenging. I'm not throwing that out to everyone here.
So and I've taken the class, so I've seen how this works, and we use MailChimp. So you are segmenting the market, and not to get too deep into it, instead of having all these separate lists, you're really trying to go for one master list where you may tag a loyal customer in 3 or 4 of your different segments. Mm-hmm. But the tag, master list versus segment or different lists. And I see where you're going. We don't do that. We just have different lists, and it's too confusing. That may be your best tip out of this episode. That's where you're headed.
Yeah.
A master list with different tags.
Yeah. I mean, let's go back to the digital marketing competition, right? So I have a professor list and I have a student list. And I realize that, students typically don't come back. They're usually seniors that participate. Occasionally we get people that come back. But the professor list, I have the professor list for this semester. So active, the ones that are participating in this current semester. But once we're done, I take that list, I drop all of those professors into the master professor list, and I wipe the other one clean, right? So it's gone. So it's a reoccurring, like we specialize because they have different automations that are going. So it wouldn't make sense for me to send the case study to the hundreds and hundreds of professors that we have on this list because they're not all participating, right? So if I have 150 professors on there that are active, they should get that message versus the others that aren't active.
So they're in a master list, but they've been tagged.
Correct.
And the professors that are gone, you're not throwing away their email, but you're not tagging them on the current stuff. You may do one email to everyone on your list that kind of just says, hey, we're having this in 2 weeks or something like that. They may be on that tag, but they're not on the tag for the current competition.
Right. So we launch the spring version January 2nd. January 2nd, every professor on that list will get an email from us. After that, it's only the people that actually have registered into it. So it's basically like, we're back. This is what we're doing. Here's our clients. If you want to be part of it, register. And that's where we go from there.
No one knows more about how to set up email marketing campaigns than our own Matt Hansen. If you want to take any of his marketing classes, such as our producer right here is going to take his master's, she's taking
the marketing campaigns class.
So you are going to already be light years ahead of everybody else. But I will tell you this, he's very demanding, and there's a verbal final that you got to go through, and but the end result is that you will know how to do our email marketing campaigns, and that would just give you another job. So Adriana Alvarez, thank you for producing. Matt, final thoughts?
Don't be afraid of email automation. Learn it. Take an hour, go in there and just set up a simple one. Even if you don't even use it, just play with it to understand it. It's so simple. It's literally drag and drop at this point.
Tell your friends, your small and medium-sized businesses about Mastering Local Marketing podcast, available wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time, see you later.